Can you see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. All righty.
For sure that with posting the login information on all of our Desanio Facebook pages that we'd get a few extra people, but I don't know. Hi, Dory. Dory. She can't hear, huh?
I guess not. Can she hear our?
Dory, can you hear us?
Well, it'll be recorded, so
Yeah. Should we chat?
she could possibly have the volume down and be talking to somebody else right now because it looks like she's engaged in something. Not to put her on the spot here. Before
There we go. Yeah.
Oh.
I think we just need to move on.
Okay.
But
Let's just start, Debbie, and then if people could jump on and you're
Okay.
recording, so.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
So
do you want me to go? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to allow you two to introduce yourselves. Oh, now Dory's trying to get in again. I'm going to allow you to introduce yourselves because you're going to do it better than I would do it, and introduce your topic.
Okay. Kate, do you want to go first?
sure, if you'd like me to,
Sure.
Laurie, we've done
Go
this
ahead.
together
You
before.
want to
So
introduce yourself? Okay.
yeah, so I am Kate Hogan Green. I am I just so happen to be a Medina County Board Service and Support Administrator. But I'm also here as a family member, and I'm going to share how I use this one page or this All About Me page. But I am the parent to two children. Addie is 12 and Lorelei is 9, and Lorelei has Down syndrome. And I am also a Charting the Life course ambassador. And I actually work for Medina County, but I live here in Summit County. So have known Laurie now for almost 8 years since we moved up here.
Wow, 8 years.
Almost.
And I am Laurie Kowalski. I am the Director of Family Support and Adult Engagement for the Down Syndrome Association of Northeast Ohio. I am also a parent. I have 3 children, 3 adult children. My oldest is Kristen, my middle is Alex, and my youngest is Charlie. And I'm going to be sharing my All About Me pages for Alex, who has Down syndrome, and Charlie, who is on the autism spectrum. And I am also a Charting the Life course ambassador. Kate and I took the course together. So we have been helping families in our area since 2021 when we did the course.
Right in the middle of COVID.
Right. So I'm going to go to the next page. And do you want me to do this?
I mean, I can touch on it.
Go ahead. Okay.
Charting the Life course tools. There's a whole bunch of tools that I know that we can share with you. This one that we're going to share is called a one-page description, but there's a lot of other ones that are out there. And Charting the Life course was created by family members for family members. So that's where it's legit. You know what I mean? We have a lot of reports within, as a county board employee, we have lots of reports and assessments and that sort of thing. These are really, for and about us, and that were created, for us by family members. So that's where I think there's some good legitimacy. Laurie, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yes. It all just makes sense. That's why we're such advocates of it, because we've used it for our own family members. We've used it for other family members, and it just really all it's very, makes a lot of sense. It's very simple. So like the screen says, there's no wrong way to use Charting the Life Course tool. It's really about what works best for you. So this is the one-page description that we're talking about tonight. We have lots of different tools in Charting the Life Course, and if you're interested, I can help a family, DeSanio family, go through them. It's a very simple procedure. We could do it over Zoom. Takes an hour maybe to go through a couple of the different tools, but this is the first one that I usually start with. This is the first tool that we use. And the reason that we're doing this presentation today is because several months ago, Debbie did a presentation with some doctors, and the subject came up that people said they wish that they had a one-page sheet that they could take with them to the doctor's office that really explained their son or daughter in just one short page. Instead of going through the entire My Chart, this was simple and consolidated, and a little light bulb popped in my head, and I said, we have a tool for that. That's kind of what prompted us to come and present tonight. And this is what it looks like. This is a fillable document that we have online, very easy to use. Something you can share with teachers or therapists, day program staff, drivers. I mean, really anybody that you want to know about your son or daughter, this will be very helpful. So I'm going to let Kate talk about her daughter. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah. So, I did this. I created a one-page for Lorelei when she was in this, and this is how it was. And this is how I continue to use it. So if you look at this, you look at that real simple fillable version, it asks for the same thing. Now, as a professional in the field, kind of knew what I was doing and what I wanted to convey. And if I were a provider, what I would want to know about a person. So I started doing this when Lorelei was in daycare. And, they, in the applications, they'll ask you to kind of describe all of these things, and they give you about this much room to put it in. And they loved this. I mean, the response I got from the director was, oh, I wish we would do this. I wish the families, everybody that came to us would do this. And, I just wanted to what are some of her favorite things? She has speech delays. So she can't always say clearly what her favorite things are. It also helps when you see what her favorite things are, or the important people that are to her, that important people in her life. If she's saying Yessie or Yoey, well, that's Jesse and Joey. So that's another thing you can do, is what sounds like, how they communicate. You can throw that in there. Common things that they might say and what they mean, especially for our family members with Down syndrome. There's always that speech component. Based, low muscle tone, the shape of the palate, the teeth. Poor Lorelei's has to have 12 teeth removed because those gosh darn things don't fall out by themselves. But I'm like, all that stuff is in her mouth. How does she get anything out clearly, right? So putting something like that is also really helpful, and would eliminate some of that frustration. So, her favorite things are books and puzzles. She's very friendly. She loves hugs. So it's okay. I always say this with kiddos, with adults. I say kiddos because I'm a parent, right? But your family member who might also have autism, if they like hugs, put that. Because I think some people think, if they have autism, then they don't like to be touched, which is not always that case. So you could always put that in there. What helps? You should wear glasses, speak to me eye to eye. Give me, I think I wrote this when, during COVID, give me air fives. We can do high fives now. Give me time, to process what I'm being told or what I'm being asked. God bless you, Debbie. I saw that. And then for Lorelai, the very important medical information, especially when she's at school, they need to know this. So look how old that is. Addie's in the 7th grade now.
Oh.
Should have sent you the updated one. But these are, especially for school, they need to have, like, they can't be going through the IEP. That's not going to be helpful. That's not going to keep that, my child safe if they have to go through pages and pieces and parts. This is important for everyone that has daily contact with Lorelai to have in front of them. Does anybody have any questions about that? It doesn't have to be fancy, and this is not fancy. I've seen some really fancy ones, but that's what I like. Like it's the fillable form. It's really basic. You just get in there, you can handwrite it. If you want to print it out, handwrite it. Take it to work, day program, new therapist, new doctor. When they're in the hospital, we were really promoting this during COVID.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't even be in there to speak for your loved one.
And what's great about the fillable one is you can add to it, change it. It's kind of a working document always. So. Okay. So this is my 1-page description that I did for my son, Charlie, who is now 25 years old. We did this when he was in high school to help teachers and, anybody who works with Charlie. I mean, he encountered a lot of different people in high school, coaches, principals, things like that. So we start with this part here, and I'll blow it up a little bit in this page here. So what people like and hear about me, all the things that people like and admire about your person. Sunny, loves to make people laugh. I like birds. And these are also things that can be conversation starters for people. Like for example, maybe they start a new day program and they're working with people who never have met them before. I mean, a lot of the things that are on these forms are things that they can have a conversation about. If you have somebody who's, Charlie's pretty verbal, but conversation wise is not always his strength. So like, you want to get Charlie in a conversation, talk about birds. Up here it says, I like birds and I know a lot about him. Ask him a question about a bird. What's the state bird of Idaho? He will be your instant friend. So anybody that's working with your people, your person, can really benefit from having this document. And then I did one for my son, Alex, and this is a recent one. So Alex is going to be starting a new job on Monday, and all new people for him. He used to work at Planet Fitness, and then during COVID, obviously the gyms shut down, so he lost his job. And then when we were comfortable with him going back, they had already filled the position at that particular Planet Fitness. So we got him another job, and recently his hours have been drastically cut in that other job. And I bumped into the manager at the Planet Fitness just recently, and he's like, we would love to have Alex back. So fast forward, he's starting a brand new Planet Fitness to him, all brand new people. So I'm planning on sending this form with him on Monday because I'm not going to be there. And his job coach will be there, and she's worked with him before, but again, she may not know every single thing about Alex. And his new boss is certainly not going to know everything about Alex. And he does have speech, but sometimes he's harder to understand, especially if he's nervous or excited. He talks really fast, and they may not know what he's saying. And I'll tell you a little story at the previous Planet Fitness job. He got to work one day. He had a driver transportation company, and he came to work and he was very, very upset, crying, just beside himself. And it was very unusual for Alex to be like that. You know, he's usually very happy, bubbly, and of course, when he's in that kind of a state, it is very hard to find out what really happened. What's going on? Why are you so upset? And of course, the young gentleman who was the supervisor, you know, really couldn't. He just knew that Alex was very upset. So he called me and he just said, I don't know what's going on, but he's just so upset. And he came like that, you know, from the driver and transportation. So anyway, you know, long story short, find out that apparently the driver was in a fight with his girlfriend and screaming at each other on cell phone and speakerphone. And Alex does not like that. He does not like yelling, anybody getting upset. So it really shook him to the core. Now I'm going to add my phone number to this sheet too, because you know, they're not going to know who I am or what my phone number is, or in case of emergency, please call me. So, you know, those are important things.
And you could even like fold this up and put it in his wallet.
Yeah.
Or write it on like a card. I was gonna say a flash card. What do you call those things? Note card.
Index card.
Index.
Yeah, an index shell. An index card.
Yeah.
Laminate it, you know, that they can keep on them.
Yeah,
This
for
would
sure.
have been so helpful when my son started his job because they didn't really know anything about Down syndrome, and he presents like such a capable individual, but he can't read. He can't do any of those processes that you need to do when you start a job, but he would never admit it, and they wouldn't recognize that he can't do it. He couldn't even see well because he had cataracts, but I didn't know that at the time. But he, you know, so that he was limited and they were unaware of where he needed support. And this would have been very helpful.
Yeah, that's a good point because, yeah, like Alex does have limited reading skills. I mean, he can read some things, but he may present like more than, you know, and then if, you know, don't have a very understanding person working with them and they'll expect certain things and, you know, maybe they would think he was being stubborn or, you know, not wanting to do something when he really truly couldn't read it. Or, you know, I think I put in here, I blew it up a little to make it easier to read, like rephrase directions in a positive way. And I put an example in here. Instead of saying that is not the way to do this, say, see how I did that? Can we try it this way instead? So,
What if, I mean, honestly, like that's how I would want to be spoken to as
Right.
well. So, I mean, I think these are also things that, you know, if you know anyone that's a supervisor or a manager, it's a great way to get to know your team members.
yes,
It's just not just for people with disabilities.
absolutely. Absolutely. And like these things in what's important to me, you know, there's coworkers I know, like a lot of turnover at the restaurant he works at, and he really likes to connect with people. So like if you knew that he worked for the Cleveland Browns as well, you know, maybe a coworker can say, hey, Alex, I heard you work for the Browns and they had a great, well, I can't really say they had a great game because they very rarely do, but you know what I mean.
There's always next year, right, Alex?
Right, exactly. He even has a shirt that says that, always next year. So just like a little tidbits about him. I love to play basketball. You know, those types of things. So
And
these,
I like adding the pictures. Add those pictures.
yeah, the
See, you
too.
know, yeah, show that like they're so much more than that person that just showed up for the job or that showed up for school or
Right.
that's in front of a therapist or a doctor.
Right, exactly. Like they have a family. This is him and his sister. You know, just start getting them to talk about things that they love, and that can open up a lot. Okay.
So I did this one. for my husband at the time. We were divorced, so I'm going to share some personal information. Brian had gotten really, really sick, and that was in 2021, June of 2021. And I hadn't done this while he was in the hospital. It just, even though these were things that I did for my daughter and things that I did for clients and with clients and family members, I put this together after Brian went from the hospital. He was in the ICU. He lost a lot of blood. He lost a lot of oxygen. He had to have a transfusion, had multiple seizures. You know, our whole life was absolutely upended. He couldn't speak for himself. I mean, he was unconscious for one. But he did, you know, after he had come to, there was, you know, some conversations with a nurse in particular that I thought was just terrible. And I went, oh my gosh, I should have done this so that they understood what things meant. And he went into a rehab facility, actually created this, and the rehab facility that he went to really didn't receive it well, kind of dismissed it. And then he went to a new rehab facility. And this was the difference. And this is, I actually did a presentation for colleagues across Ohio about this and shared this particular experience. What that told me was rehab facility A had absolutely no emotional intelligence. And it was just a poor culture. You ever come across that? And then we went to the other rehab facility, and I sent it with him. I sent the one page with him. He was going to be transported that evening. It was in his bag. And when I got to the rehab facility, it was hung up on the bulletin board. A therapist had come in and had a copy of it. So that was an immediate embrace of this. And they were like, the speech therapist was like, this is amazing. So they talked about Lorelei, and they talked about, you know, Addie, because he had aphasia, and his speech was awful, absolutely awful. And he knew at times that he wasn't saying the right thing. But we didn't, you know, understand. And so we wanted, and also them to see who he was before he got sick. So this is a little bit more updated, because this happened, you know, over 2 years ago, and he is still, I mean, he's in the hospital right now. This happens a lot. He goes in and out of the hospital. We are no longer married. He lives in a nursing home. But I still can't help myself, even though we're divorced. I still play that role of an advocate. I just wanted them to know his value, and also what he could be talking about, and for them to understand that. And so that communication was really, really important. There was one point where he kept repeating the word water to me, and I couldn't figure out what that meant. I thought it was maybe because he needed to drink water. And then he said the number 10, and 10, and he just kept repeating 10, 10, 10, and then said water. Well, we had been planning to go to Niagara Falls, the American side, because Canada was closed to us at the time. This was in the, you know, the middle of COVID. And so we had planned to go to New York and going to the Niagara Falls for Addie's 10th birthday. And so I had shared that was with Rehab A, and they said it was nonsense, that it was just, yeah. And then, you know, I said, well, I asked him if it meant this, and he said yes. And they said, well, he says yes to everything. And I was like, no, he doesn't. I mean, and I would be in the room with him for 5-6 hours. And that was my office. A lot was by his bedside. I was working. And so no, if he cannot speak for himself, this speaks for him. And, you know, I work in the field. I've got that. And I learned how to advocate for Lorelei before she was even born, knowing that she had Down syndrome and having that experience with doctors that dismissed her chance of life, right? So it was, you know, born to me. with Lorelei that, no, I'm not taking what somebody says at face value. And if I'm not there, this speaks for us. This says who this person is. And I would be on the phone. I'd be on the phone and I would say, did you look at that description? Did you look at that? Did you follow what he said? What we said helps, because we did have originally like what helps, what makes him feel comfortable. Refer back to that. And so it's one page. It can't, one person, you can't put it all in one page, but these are simple and really just bullet points. That's a little fuzzy, I'm sorry. But yeah, this is also, we are divorced. That's still sometimes because of the brain damage. He struggles with that. The children, these are the people. So I'm actually, Laurie and I are both working on this for our parents who are aging. I'm working on it for my mom. She's working on it for her mom. We're looking at my mom and dad, or we're looking at assisted living. Could be done through a nursing home placement tonight, for all we know, if there's an emergency. So I wanted to put something together for my mom, something that would speak to her. So, for example, being Catholic is very, very important to my mom. That was not something I would need to put for Brian's, because that is not important to Brian, but his daughter with Down syndrome. And that also it makes that personal connection to the person that's providing them care. His physical therapist, when he was at Akron City, SUMA, that was Rehab B. They were much better. The physical therapist looked at it and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm from," I would say, is it that important that they know that he's from Medina, right? Well, it was. It created a personal connection, because the PT, her husband grew up in Copley, where we live right now, and they now live in Medina. So there was such a personal connection right there. And just knowing where he came from, he has, the skill sets that he had. He was actually, when he was delirious, he was hallucinating. And I was watching this happen, and I knew he was at work. He was laying on his bed, holding the phone to his ear. There was no phone. Pointing to a screen that wasn't there, because he worked in logistics with Sherwin-Williams. He was routing trucks in his delirium out of his coma. That would have meant nothing to the staff had I not recognized that and then said, this is what he was doing. He was saying hello, he was answering the phone. It was actually quite funny, because he was saying, the speech was terrible, but then he'd say, the hello wouldn't come out right, but then he'd say, "This is Brian," and then words and numbers were just coming out. And the brain is it's a very mysterious thing. And so, yes, staff, under whatever circumstances, school, day program, hospitals, should treat people like human beings. We shouldn't have to, do this, but it really does speak for them. And it also brings them back to who they are, that they are a valued member of somebody's family. And it forces them then to see that. I think, at least that was our experience with Brian when he was, hospitalized. Lorelei goes into the hospital quite a bit. So we have it ready in the car. So if I have to go get a cup of coffee at 5 o'clock in the morning and she wakes up, but the staff's there, because I wouldn't, I don't necessarily leave her, I'll ask, and they might have a medical assistant sit in. If she wakes up and doesn't know where I am, they can explain to her I'm getting a cup of coffee and have a conversation with her, because they know what certain things mean. They can just start asking her, "So what's your cat's name?" and kind of distract her and redirect her.
Yeah, it's kind of, it makes people more than what their diagnosis is. I do feel like you know, especially my son Alex, you know, a lot of people in the medical field just say, oh, Down syndrome. Okay, well, there's this. They're not like, I mean, they always look to the parent for guidance. And what if I wasn't there, or my husband wasn't there? So
And
it's
see the
very-
deficits, you know, seeing the deficits. That's why I like, if you can put pictures, put pictures. If you're low tech, print it, write it, take a picture, go to Staples and copy it with the
Yeah.
picture on it.
Yeah, for sure. Pictures are very important. Okay.
It looks like Kitty's joined us
Yeah.
and Susan joined us. If you guys have any questions.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
So you keep talking about a fillable form. Are you going to tell us where to find a fillable form? Is there a cost to this? Is, you know, where do
No
we
cost.
access it?
I can email a fillable form. I believe they're housed in the Ohio, it's FRNO, Family Resource Network of Ohio, right? Kate?
Yes, you could. I'm trying to, but I can't. Here, hold on a second.
I
'Cause I
could
can
stop sharing.
probably, oh no, you're fine.
I can find the website and share
There's
that.
several out there. Oh, look who came to visit.
Mommy,
All right.
There's a Padlet
Mommy.
too.
Mommy.
I don't know, Lori, on some of the things that we've done. So I'm gonna just put it in here, FRNO.
Okay.
FRNO. IO, not to put two O's.
Yeah, and I
.org.
can email Debbie. Yeah, if you can't, we can use that, and then I can
Mom.
email you the
Mommy.
link to it.
And right on right on
Mommy.
their website, it goes right
Mom.
down. If you scroll down, it says charting the life
Mommy.
course. And then you hit,
Mom.
you know, learn more,
Mommy.
and it should give you
Mom.
access to the tools.
Mommy.
Let me see if I could find the website and share it on the screen, then you could at least see what it looks like.
Mommy.
Okay, doesn't want a family. Doesn't like my acronyms.
What's the matter, Lorelai?
No.
Oh, we want M&Ms. Very important. So I should put on her one page that she loves peanut M&Ms.
Okay.
So
Hello.
and she's asking me for peanut M&Ms, but I wouldn't, you know, for somebody who doesn't understand that.
Right.
Or who
Or,
doesn't
I mean, if
understand
somebody had an
M&Ms.
allergy, like a really, you know, we have a lot of people with
Mommy.
celiac,
Hello.
She's got celiac. Yep.
Mommy. This is it.
so
Mommy.
So that's on her one page.
Mama.
Are those kind of quick snapshots?
I'm going to
Ew.
share the screen so you can see
Mommy,
the
I.
website, if that's okay. So this is what the Family Resource Network of Ohio website looks like. And if you go here, charting the life course, and it tells all about the principles. There's lots of training.
Tools. Here we go. There's
Where's Dad?
yeah. If you go down to the bottom and you see
Mama,
tools,
Dad.
let's see what worksheets.
Oh, here, okay.
Look at that.
Wow.
Yes, there it is. I
Ooh.
think.
Yep, person-centered
Mommy.
description. So you can download it. Here it is. You can fill it in. You know, I'm happy to help anybody with this
Mommy.
tool. This one's really easy to do on your own. Super easy, but I mean, I'm happy to help anybody because after that one, then we get into some other tools like the support star and the life trajectory, which talks about goals for your future that you want for your loved one and things that you don't want for your loved one. So there's two different sections, but we can get into that another
And
time.
things that work and things that don't work. And those are things you can honestly put on the one. There's some interchangeable. We say one page description. We say one pager. We might say personal profile, all about me page. The within the board of DD systems, this component is part of the ISP. Now,
The new one, right?
the new one, yeah. And one of my coworkers actually called me today, and she was telling me she went on a tour in Brunswick with a brand new, they're not brand new provider, but of day and vocab services. And she said, do you know that they say when they have, they actually create the one pager with the new person. So they're not saying bring it with you, but they actually create it. In some folks, there's a preschool teacher down in Cincinnati. It's part of their pre-K graduation, and it's a celebration, and they create this. The teacher and the parent put this together for the child, it's just a great way to celebrate who a person is as well.
Yeah. Is that the one that does it for all of the students?
Her name's Joy. Yeah,
Did she speak at the
she
conference?
did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was
And she says, I've been doing this since the 80s. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
yeah.
This is not charting the life course. It is adopted by Charting the Life course. But it was actually created by Helen Sanderson, I think is the name. So
Yeah.
there's some fillable forms if you just Google it, and it might come up to that Helen Sanderson's. Am I saying that right, Laurie?
I think so. Yeah.
I have a 9-year-old that is losing her mind on the kitchen floor. Can anybody relate to that?
You know. Oh, does anybody feel like this could help them in their day-to-day life or their son or daughter
Or both,
or both?
in my case. Yeah.
Or aging parents or
Mhm.
yourself.
Well, yeah, I definitely see its utility, and I want to give Kitty the chance to speak, but especially for my daughter Erin that doesn't have much oral language beyond the word awesome. Like, she talks to certain people, she's very selective, and you never know if you're going to be the chosen one that she speaks to. But like, my ex-husband had Lewy body dementia. This would have been so helpful for people to see him as the human being he was before he got the dementia. And I just think it's stuff that I did as a teacher for kids, but I never saw its applicability to adults, aging parents, and adults, with a challenge when they're in all these new situations. So I think it's a great tool to be used. I could see why you used it in such a variety of ways. But Kitty, I'm sorry if I took over the conversation.
Oh, no, I really don't have, I was just here out of curiosity. But I
Okay.
see its importance in, filling it out for Megan or starting one for Megan.
Like if you had a new doctor, we recently went to a new doctor, and he was wonderful, but I've had other doctors that, I would think that they would be thrilled to see something like this, just so they can have something, to relate if they needed it, so it is a very helpful tool.
My favorite doctor of Jeremy's is the cardiologist who took notes all the way along. So he would ask him things every time we go from Jeremy's past because he knew how to engage him in conversation. He's the only doctor in the multitude of doctors that we've had that has ever done that. But what a difference that makes when you're checking, him out. Because then Jeremy's like, hey, this guy's cool. I don't mind, taking my clothes off for him and letting him listen to my heart and put stickies on it,
Right. Right. And those kinds of doctors are so few and far between, unfortunately, that are so good like that. I remember Charlie well, they both had a pediatrician that the minute she walked in the room, especially with Charlie, because with the autism, he was just freaked out by any kind of doctor or medical. She would literally open the door and sit on the floor in the office because she didn't want to be intimidating to him or,
Mhm.
scare him. She was amazing, but she knew that, and she must have written it in a chart or something because like she remembered, but not every doctor is like that. So,
Yeah, that's for
Well,
sure.
it demands the person receiving it sees the person's value.
yeah,
And that's
Unless
been,
it's like your first rehab, that
yeah,
just ignored
yeah.
it, but
But
that
I
tells you the
demanded it.
problem.
I demanded it. I demanded it. I demanded it. And it's to the point where they removed people from his case.
wow,
Mm.
good.
And I had a meeting with the executive director and the director of nursing. It took that. But I demanded it and said, look at that, use that. But it was some bad professionals. But I didn't have to, like, you get so tired of wasting your breath, when you're fighting for a loved one, right? You get so tired. And then you could just say, look at her all about me page.
Right.
Reference that.
Yeah.
You've basically written a case plan that they have to follow. You've
Just even
created it.
acknowledging who they were when, my dad just died in July and he had a sudden stroke, and it was the same day he had played baseball because he was a very active guy. So he played softball in this older person team, but by the time he got to the hospital, he was already like pretty much brain dead, and everyone treated him like he was in a coma and brain dead and not a human being. But once I would say to them, he was playing baseball yesterday, he was playing with his great grandchildren yesterday, that changed it. But if you have that page there, then you don't have to be saying that. You don't have to be defending his dignity. So that's why I see the applicability for your parents too, that the dignity is built into the document.
We
Right.
put it in a clear plastic, the clear
The sleeves. Yeah.
the clear
those- yeah.
sleeves are so great because, coffee can get spilled, things get, messy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
that's
insist
great.
on it. I mean, I've sat in Brian's room and have, I said, oh, are you, there'll be a new nurse. And I would say, oh, hey, take a look at his, one page, or take a look at his profile I created. So it tells you a little bit more. And a lot of times they were like, oh my gosh, that's so cool that you did that. And, it was that it brought him back to, this is not just a patient.
Right. I also feel like it's really good application in, job interviews and resume. Like it could go hand in hand with the resume because a lot of our, individuals don't really always interview great. I mean, we find this so much with these hiring events that I just heard a story yesterday about somebody that they had practiced and practiced and practiced, and then they got to the job interview and that person froze and they like couldn't say anything. So like if they could have handed them this and maybe they picked out one thing off of that and said, oh, I see you, like basketball, or just something to kind of break the ice and
Small talk.
yes, small talk
Build
and
rapport.
exactly. I mean, and I know from Alex, if you can connect on one little thing, I mean, he can open up and just, that could change the whole demeanor and conversation. So Charlie too, he's the same way. I mean, if you connect with him on whatever things he likes, I mean, even Debbie, like your drivers, I mean, I know they're all wonderful, but maybe if there was a new person, maybe they would be interested in finding out a couple little tidbits.
No, I actually usually leave them information that I have found out in a little paragraph about each person. So they do have a way to connect, because when you
Right.
connect, you're building a relationship. And, building a relationship is essential for all of our kids to be successful.
Right. I'm sure Laurie never dreamed that she would be watching or listening to Jerry Springer episodes when she's driving Charlie to work every Sunday.
That's true. I did not write that in his description paragraph.
No, because he didn't like that at the time.
Yeah.
That's a new one for him, but you watch Judge Judy with him or Jerry Springer and you're a friend for life.
Hmm.
But anyways,
It's like, it's what I love about it is it isn't just the, all about me, but it's a celebration, not just of how to support them or to
Mhm.
understand their communication, but just a way to celebrate them.
yeah. I'm really glad that the ISPs are reflecting this. They really have embraced this, correct?
And
So
and that's the most important to me. It's the most important page because there's a lot of questions. Can't get away with that. Sorry, I've said it to the state themselves. So if this is being recorded here, I'm saying it again. Just a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff.
yeah,
It's just like the IEPs. It's just, it's just this much stuff. If all you read is that, and it is, I think we call it the All About Me page. If all you read is the All About Me page, okay, good. That's good.
Yes.
That is fine.
And you built it out from there. It's like, if you have all that all about me information, then that's all you need to know for vocational placement, life place, any of those goals that evolve, they should evolve from the all about me, person-centered.
right. Right.
Yep.
I mean, we're on our 8th support administrator now, and I'm sure we'll get a new one. So like all they would have to read would be that, not all, but that would be very helpful to read that first page and know something about them.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you both. I'm sorry that it was not as well attended as I.
This is normal. I mean, honestly, Kitty, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
This just happens, and I can't tell you how many things I've signed up for that I just couldn't attend.
Usually we get about 50%, which is why I
That's
thought
good.
we'd have like
Yeah.
5.
Mhm.
But
it was
yeah.
recorded, and I think that's
Recording.
really helpful.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Yeah, that part is true, and it will be available, and I'm going to send it to everybody who signed up, because I think if they have questions, then they'll reach out to one or both of you.
I know for school, my saying for school is I work with children, primarily ages 3 to 13. But my mantra is don't start school without it.
Yeah.
No, it would have been, I was an intervention specialist. So most of the kids I had year after year. But if I got a new kid, this would have been just ideal to have a snapshot of that kid when he walked into the class, or she, so that, I could start building that rapport, because you can't teach anybody that doesn't like you. It just doesn't work. So.
Mhm. Or substitute teachers. I mean, I subbed for a while, and it would have been nice to know about, have a little tidbit of information about each student.
Especially for those that can't communicate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was my big, Brian couldn't communicate. I mean, he wasn't even, conscious. I think about this like in the Alzheimer's world. I wonder if the charting the LifeCourse tools are reaching that.
I hope so. I sure hope so.
Because I'm experiencing it with my mother. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to put all these great things that we know about her, that she, at some point, she's real good about telling you herself, Laurie. So but at some point she won't know how to say it. Right.
Mhm.
So I want people to know the glorious woman that we all know. And that's the same for our children.
Well, this is helpful also because I don't know if you know, Kate, but I'm the healthy aging coordinator. And so the parents who have kids with Down syndrome and Alzheimer's reach out to me, or if they go through a regression, that's like my little wheelhouse. So now that I know specifically about charting the life course, I can, very deliberately suggest this is what you need to do for your person before they get to the point where, they don't have somebody speaking for them or they're hospitalized, put this out. I think it's a great tool and I can direct them very deliberately toward that.
Yeah. And then we have a integrated support star that can kind of find gaps in supports and services that they might need. So it's a whole, another fillable document like that. And it talks about, community things, government services, technology.
I mean, that's a good topic alone, especially Debbie, for that, for aging. Again, when Brian was in the hospital, I actually pulled out a blank star and started filling, because I had to apply for, I had to apply for long-term disability. I had to apply for Social Security. I had to get guardianship. I didn't have power of attorney in place. I had to do all of those things. And then I had to fill it in. And at that time I was planning for him to return home. He never came up back home. He's never, he's been here, but he has not lived here since June 15th of 2021. But I had to fill in where are, luckily I worked in the field. And so I could figure out, but funding resources and what was he eligible for? That really helped, because that kind of stuff kept me up at night. And it's what I tell families whenever I do these kind of trainings for professionals or families, because there's the life trajectory and the integrated star would be good subject matters as well. But it's the stuff that it hurts your belly, keeps you up at night, that panic that sits in your belly and you don't know what to do with it. That's why I'm like, if you, do the integrated star, just write it down, the life trajectory, what I want, what I don't want.
Yeah.
Are the integrated support star and the life trajectory on that website as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I could work with families. Like we have one that's like the star is broken up into what I have now and what I need in the future. So it's really good to see, and I can, walk them through and say, okay, you have this now, but when they turn 18, then this is what, you could be applying for, or you could be eligible for. So it's nice for them to see. And technology too, like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old has an iPhone, or their parents, an iPad, but the technology list grows and grows as the child or person grows. So it's good for them to see the possibilities of what's out there.
I like to do it with families as a caseworker. I like to do it with families to see where the gap is. Because if there's an area in that star that's empty, I'm like, have you ever thought about, you can go, okay, you haven't even talked about remote supports. We haven't even talked about cameras, alarms, locks, the seizure. I mean, that was one of the things, the bed alarms, the seizure alarms, the dog. That's they're not the support, but a therapy dog or a therapy animal. That's technology. That's, what we would consider not technology, and it has to be electronic.
It's an assistive device, but not electronic.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, if people are interested, I could rope Kate back into.
You could twist my arm to do anything.
The thing about learning the life course is I don't think people know what it is until you really hear about it. So getting people to come to things is well, I don't know what that is, so I don't need it. But once you start learning about it, you can figure out ways that it could really help. Like future planning. I had a mom, instead of going to of course you're going to need lawyers, for certain things, but to map it all out in your future goals and what things you want and what you don't want. It's really helpful before you go to the attorney and spend all that money and by the hour, you know, get it all on paper with us for free and then
Mhm,
take it to
mhm.
the attorney or financial planner person.
I gotta run. I hate to
Okay.
jump out of this conversation. Lori and I could talk about this forever, but I have my other dancer is waiting to get picked up from dance class. So I gotta run out
All right,
Not a
thanks.
problem,
get
Kate.
her
Thanks
home.
so
It's
much.
great seeing you guys.
You
you.
too. Take care.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thanks so much for your time and sharing. And yes, and you too, Laurie. Thank you
Oh,
so
you're
much because I
Thanks,
know you
Laurie.
guys prepared.
You're
Hey,
welcome.
Debbie.
Yeah, hi, Kitty.
Hi. The program you did on regression, did you tape
Yes.
that at all?
Yes. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, it's on the website and it's on the YouTube channel.
yeah.
So the Desanio YouTube
Oh,
channel
YouTube.
is, yeah. Can you get
Okay.
that?
I
If you
don't know.
can't, I could just
Just
send
go
it.
on YouTube and look under.
Okay.
Johnson.
That's one place I usually never go. is
I
YouTube.
never go either, but I know that Laura puts and Tony puts stuff there. So,
Okay.
but if you can't find it, send me a email and I'll send it directly
Okay.
to
Yeah,
you.
that was another one that was on a night I couldn't
Yeah.
do it.
It
This
was
worked out. I'm
really
sitting
well.
in the car waiting for Megan to come out of dance
Yeah.
class.
That was so interesting, the global webinar yesterday, and they talked about regression and treatments and
Yeah, and Dr. Santoro put on a regression webinar a week later. That was, really good too. Like both things were very, very helpful. So
Oh,
I can send you, just email me and then I'll send you links if you want to
okay.
both.
All right.
all right. And
Thanks.
Kim, if you ever want me to go through these tools with you one-on-one, let me know.
Okay.
Happy to do it. All
Lori,
right.
Thanks.
this was very helpful. I'm sorry that people missed it.
That's okay.
But I will
We
send,
had a couple people coming in and out. That's okay.
I think Dory was having trouble with her technology because she came in and out a few times and then just
Yeah.
gave it up.
Well,
So
hopefully she'll watch it.
yeah, I'll send it to her
Yeah.
for sure.
All right.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Ladies.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks. Nice to
Bye.
see everybody.
Good to see you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.